it's a bit of a classic story of making your hobby into a full-time job. So I was actually working as a head chef in the kitchen, but always was interested in producing anything, basically, just making my own stuff. Was doing some surfboards just for fun. Surfing, like normal wave surfing, became a thing here in the Netherlands, or is quite a big thing now, even though we have pretty shitty waves. But boards were not widely available back then, so I just started making my own, or started at least like experimenting. The first ones were pretty terrible, obviously, but it was fun to do. So it was just a hobby, making some boards. Then made a few more for friends. Slowly made like a board a month, something like that, next to my job. My brother Jorrit, who I own the company with, finished his studies, and he has more of a technical background than me, and he started working at Mystic, the well-known kite accessories wetsuit brand, which is from the Netherlands. It's actually literally like 15 minutes away from our office is their headquarters. Nowadays they're owned by North Action Sports, so they're the same group as North Foils and North Kiteboarding. He started working there after an internship as a wetsuit designer and harness designer, and he got into kite surfing. And I was doing surfboards. I was just experimenting for fun with how to make a board stronger, adding some materials. I was talking to some suppliers of different kinds of resins, different kinds of fibers, all sorts. Again, just as a pure out of interest. Just I like to find out how things are made and how things are done. And my boards got pretty strong, still all hand shaped, still all handmade. I did everything myself. And he got into kite surfing, and and he told me, like, the guys are starting strapless kite surfing, so really wave kite surfing on surfboards, but they constantly keep breaking, and we're looking for a way to make kiteboards stronger. And around that time, there was just like either people were riding normal PU polyester surfboards and destroying them within a few months, or they were riding these really heavy ultra thick glass boards that were made for kite surfing, but they were not very lively. There were not a lot of feel in there. So I just started doing a few boards for kite surfing, and then turned out we could make pretty strong boards. And my brother started sort of helping me a little bit with new technologies, and we experimented with a whole host of stuff. And back then we were actually, our parents were living on a apple farm super close to here, and we were doing everything in the backyard in a shed. Basically, I took over my parents' shed, got the bikes out, everything, made it to do a small shaping bay, and my parents actually liked it, because otherwise we would, we left the house, so we were never around much. And as parents want to see their kids every once in a while, so actually my mom was always super happy to have us over, because at least their kids were there, so we could work in the shed, whenever we wanted to. So we were making boards, everything hand shape, nothing too exciting. We were experimenting with some vacuum glassing, which is the way a lot of brands do. So we're using EPS foam, using a vacuum pressing method to get a reasonably strong board. We could use some sandwich materials, all that sort of stuff. Just got to used to working with those techniques. And sort of two things happened at the same time. My brother had a friend, and he was making a 3D printer, and he made a few 3D printers, and he said, I can probably make a CNC machine, because it's the same as a 3D printer, just bigger, and it just takes things away instead of adding, but the rest is the same. So I was like, sure, but they needed money for parts. And I was making good money as a chef, so I said, like, okay, I'll pay for parts if you build the thing. So that was the deal. So my brother and his friend built the thing, and I paid for it. Took a year, and then we had a CNC machine, which was quite funny. So it was in the shed. By then we sort of extended the shed with like a shipping container we put next to the shed. Luckily, my parents had a big garden, so we could get a shipping container, put it next to the shed. Put the machine in there, and then just started experimenting. And it's so nice to have this machine, so you can just replicate shapes and get it way more consistent. And then we were at I think it was a big conference in Germany. There's a yearly get together for composite industry professionals, and we got tickets, so we just went, and I always just speak to whoever I can speak to, and then just network, and found some people they liked our story, so they was like, yeah, we can hook you up with some like high tech materials, high tech foams, high tech other infusion stuff. That's normally you can get it, but it's like not super easy. But there was this couple of young guys from the Netherlands making surfboards, and everyone there is making yachts and windmill blades and relatively boring stuff. So surfing is cool. They're like, oh, we'll help these kids out. Maybe they can make us a surfboard to put on the booth next year. So, we can relate to these kids. They're trying to get something going. So we got a couple of brands actually send us loads of experimental things to work with. We even got some foam that was never going to work for surfboards. We knew because it was way too expensive, but they're like, oh yeah, have a piece, and just experiment. And one of them actually said, like, you can come to our lab to see if we can find a way to use a resin infusion method on a surfboard. And that was sort of our breakthrough.